Hi, my name is James Bucci, and I'll be doing educational mobile apps. Specifically, I'll be looking at Duolingo, as it's a language program you can use on iPhones and computers and all that, so you can learn languages pretty much anywhere. So first off, what are these educational mobile apps, or these EMAs? Essentially, they're applications on mobile devices that help people learn. There's two different categories of these. There's the ones used in classes, so essentially programs that a class will use. We've used a few actually in our online class. Other ones, are specific for the class. Other ones are specific to, the school. So, say parents could possibly want to find out the lunch programs or things like that. They can figure these things out from these mobile apps. There's also these third-party developer apps, which I'll be focusing on mostly. These are found in app stores. The iPhone App Store, the Google Play, things like that. You can find them in those places, and usually, we'll get into the differences in a little bit actually. And what a lot of people think about what a lot of people think about in this is that there's a great potential for future uses in education on these. So the Institute of Education Technology did a case study a while back, and they looked at the informal versus the semi-formal settings of using these language programs. So informal being these mobile applications, while the semi-formal are in tandem with an actual class. And they want to look at how technology supports learners' inquiries and their control in these events. So case one is rotten bananas, which is not specifically the name of the case. It's just that they looked at these students who did and these after-school programs in, I think it was the middle school range. And what they would do is that these students would look at food sustainability. And one group specifically looked at how bananas looked at, so like how organic or what have you. They looked at a bunch of different bananas, and they would record their findings on this. And they looked at the engagement attitudes and skill developments and understanding during these, when they were using these. And they also focused on supporting the choice and the learner control. And their findings, they found out, were that there's a lot of creativity involved. The students used video recording software to show their progress of these bananas that were rotting slowly. And then if they needed this guidance, the software ended up providing it for them, which was great. And they could access everyone's data in the program. So any other group that was doing it, they could access that and see how they were doing it and compare theirs and maybe change accordingly. So it allowed for a lot of personal inquiry. It engaged them, and they found a lot of it personally relevant. Case two were these geocachers, which is this independent use of this Web 2.0 technology to use, which is these concrete examples of them using this. Essentially what they would do is that they'd go around, they'd find these caches people would hide on GPS coordinates, and they would find information on them. They'd be like dinosaur footprints or just historical facts that they could find. So it was inquiry-based learning, is that you could find these things just by looking them up and saying, oh, hey, that looks interesting. I'm going to go find that. I'll use my GPS software on my phone, or I'll use my actual GPS. So a lot of these times they often required posting pictures or writing like the time it took or the time expected, things like that. So it created this community framework. And what they did was they interviewed these users about their experiences and how they used them. And they found out that 89% of the participants learned in searching for these caches, and 73% of them did follow-up research on them. So that was like buying books, going online, what have you. And then 30% gained a new interest in this. And then they also found out that there need to be personal motivations involved. You can't just do this as a secondary, oh, I'd feel like doing that today. That'd be kind of fun. You need to actually you need to be a lot more engaged in it. Oops, sorry. Getting backwards here. So these third-party developer apps, they're these applications that are easily downloaded on smartphones, tablets, and even websites. Like I said, Duolingo is one of them. And normally they're in this game format. And this idea is that, according to Mindy Meyer, is one of the people who helped develop this Mind Snacks game, which I'll talk about in a second, is that they have to be fun and addicting and engaging, and you'll want to keep playing, and therefore you'll be likely to continue learning that language and working with the words. So the whole point is that you want them to continue looking at these things instead of making them drab and boring, because if they're drab and boring, no one's going to want to play them, no one's going to want to download your app, and you won't make money off of it, off of ads or if it costs money to download it. And this Mind Snacks game was based on research surrounding this language and memory by this PhD in language pathology. So language learning software is normally very expensive. The most common one we know of right now is Rosetta Stone, and it's roughly $100 per language level. So this one on the bottom right corner, you see this picture here. It says Spanish. That's got levels 1 and 2 of the language. So you're going to end up paying $200 to maybe even $300 just for those 2 levels, which it's pretty expensive. But when you think about it for a college course in that language, that's actually probably on par with how much it would cost. The problem is with a lot of upfront money, people aren't willing to spend that these days. But in any case, a lot of the time they need to incorporate speaking, writing, and then translating back and forth between the native language and the one you're learning to actually get this full comprehension of the language. There's not just one side of this actual learning. And because of that, it requires a lot of research, there's continuous practice you need, and that's why a lot of classes, at least in my experience, are normally held every day for this reason. So Duolingo, this program I keep talking about, it's this free language learning app. You can learn English, French, Spanish, German, Italian, and Portuguese, and more are being added as time goes by. But mainly these are the ones they're looking at. And this is quickly gaining notoriety in the past few years. But how effective is it? Can it actually work in real world? Can you talk to a native speaker and actually converse with them and learn a lot? So how does it work? It's a mobile app and it's a website. You can see on the right here I have my profile I've had for a while. I'm level 10 now, and it goes off of skill trees. So you have these smaller quizzes in these larger categories like basics you see on the top there, and it goes down. You need to pass these different quizzes to actually learn more about what you're doing, and then as they get progressively more difficult, of course. And it tracks the points you've earned. I think it's like 10 points per quiz, and then you can earn an extra 3 points if you don't make any mistakes. So you gain levels as the more points you get, and you can compare points to your friends. The quizzes do a lot. There's a lot of different ways they ask them. There's translating a language. There's translating from the foreign language to your native language, and then the reverse of that. You can see that in the top 2 pictures there on the right. And then there's going from pictures. You can see the juice, and then they have 3 different pictures. You have to choose from one of them. Obviously, the central one is juice compared to the onion and strawberry. And then they have just words you have to choose from. And then there's things you have to use your phone for. You can record what they're saying, and then you can also listen to it from the person speaking, and then write in what they're saying. So it switches between these 2 different languages pretty seamlessly. And if your skills are forgotten, quote unquote, essentially after time goes by, your quality in these games slowly loses gravity. So it can be a problem. So you have to go back and do these quizzes over again. So they did a paid study a while back, and they looked on the effectiveness of it. And the random sample of native English speakers was a bunch of people who are obviously non-native speakers, and it was mostly U.S. based. They used college placement tests before and after the study. Obviously, higher points meant more improvement, and there's this effectiveness measurement that they did per hour of study. So the more points they got per hour, that was considered an improvement. So overall, they found that there's an average improvement of 91.4 points on this college placement test, and there's a greater confidence level, 95% in this program, and there was a 5.6 to 10.7 point difference gained per hour of study. And they found that about 36 hours of study on this program was roughly 1 semester of a college level class. So the only thing is that motivation is a large factor. People who wanted to travel versus those who just thought of a general interest in this language did better. So obviously, if you want to travel more, you want to use it, then you're going to have more motivation to learn it. But you need to have more than 2 hours a week of practice for it to actually be effective. You can't study for 15 minutes a day or 15 minutes a week and then be done. It doesn't work like that. They found out that those with less knowledge gained a lot more overall. So my personal experience, I've taken 4 semesters of Italian, and 1 was abroad, and I consider myself an intermediate to an advanced speaker. I started using this past October to supplement my language course and keep my vocab retention. I'm now level 10, and I've tried learning French with this with no prior knowledge, and obviously it's a lot more difficult. There's a lot more different rules I need to learn. There's benefits and disadvantages, again, in my opinion, and comparing with the the case study is that you're able to learn new words daily and you can expand your vocabulary pretty easily. I've learned a lot of new words that I haven't learned in my actual class, which is great. And it's an excellent supplement for these language classes. It helps you a lot to like round out your knowledge, and it forces this retention by redoing these quizzes, and it makes language learning a game, not schoolwork. That's drab and boring. The disadvantages is that there's minimal explanation of grammar rules. There's a lot of things you don't really understand quickly right away, and I would like some more explanation on things in French, so that you kind of lose that. And there's this consistent need to redo these quizzes, which is it's a good thing, but also kind of annoying because if you forget it one day, then you've just lost, you lost like 8 or 9 quizzes you need to redo. And the vocal pronunciation questions can be inaccurate. If you say something back, it's difficult to either hear it or it's difficult to fully get it, and it'll just keep moving on anyways. And you're not really getting much discussion with other people. So conclusions, while Duolingo and other educational mobile apps are effective in their own way, they cannot fully replace a classroom setting with human interaction. You need to have that human interaction. But they can be excellent supplements to classrooms if they're used properly. They can be they can be perfect to add to it. And Duolingo allows for this language knowledge and vocab building, but it's not full conversations, which is is a big problem because you want to be able to have these conversations with people and just kind of go off the fly and talk a lot. So there's limited language choices as well, which is a bit of a problem, but you can have to deal with that. So overall, a blend of technology and human contact would be the best of both worlds. You'd learn a lot more. So yeah, that's pretty much it. This is my sources right here, and thanks for listening.